everyone and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about, do you actually need to do a trust grade job before you get a training post? This is actually a very common question which a lot of people ask because nobody wants to waste their time. Nobody wants to be out of training or not be in a residency program and not specializing, whatever you call it, after being a doctor and graduating, and everybody wants to progress, everybody wants to specialize, and in UK there is a bit of a difference, and so therefore I thought it would be a good question to answer. I'm going to tell you exactly what my experience was and what I've seen so far, and why so many people who work in the UK will give you advices and saying that don't get directly into training, don't do this, don't do that. And I feel like just saying those statements aren't really justifiable of anyone's opinions. So let's get on to it. So if you're not aware of how you get into training in the UK, then this is just a quick recap. This is not like USMLE where you take the exams and you apply for a match and then you're directly into a training program, and after 4 years of training you become a consultant. In the UK things are a little bit different. They want you to license yourself, or they want you to get a license from GMC first. And once you have a license, regardless of how you went through it, meaning if you took the PLAB exams or you took the MRCP exam or any of the Royal College exams, by the way, if you've completed all of them, that means you're guaranteed a GMC registration. By any of the Royal College exams, I mean MRCOG, FRCA, FRCO PATH, all of that stuff. If you've taken all of the parts, then you get GMC registration. After that, you can just apply for jobs through NHS jobs or track jobs, and essentially you get a job. But that's not a training job. It's called a trust grade job, and it is a post which will obviously give you salary and money, and everything is there. You're still a doctor, you're still working as a doctor, and that's pretty much it. And then comes the training post. So you're basically a resident in a training program, and then after a number of years you will get your competency signed off and you will progress every single year. If you want detailed differences between a non-training job, which is also called a trust grade job, which is how I'll refer the job in this video, with a training job, the differences of both, I made a separate video for it. I'll put it in the cards above, and you can watch that video and find out what the exact differences between the job roles and the pros and the cons. But yeah, basically everybody's going to tell you to do this job that I just explained, where you come fresh off from a new country and you start doing a trust grade job or a non-training job. And there are several reasons why people say that. First thing is, when you come to a new country, imagine yourself, most of us are from third world countries, so imagine yourself coming from a third world country where you obviously do not know most of the systems, and you come into this first world country where there is a system for everything. And I'm not talking about being a doctor or being in training, or regardless of, just think about yourself as a human being. You have needs, and you can't just go directly into a training program and also try to figure out the country, if that makes sense. I know some people will say, oh no, that's not that difficult, blah blah blah. Trust me, it is quite difficult, especially if you are funding your own self. Just like me, I decided to do this myself, and when you are in a training post, your salary is quite less. I'll be very honest. As a trust grade, because you're being locally employed, they want retention of staff, so give you a slightly better pay, slightly better contract. You're not moving around. There is no rotation. So when you start and you're fresh into a new country, you don't have a car, you don't have a house because you're obviously going to be in accommodation or a hotel, or even if you're successful in renting a place before coming into the country, which is very rare. Again, you're homeless, you have a job, but you're new to the system, so you don't know the NHS, you don't have any logins, you don't exactly know what the system is, how people talk here. And clearly, if you're not from a country which speaks English, that means you're also in a country which is your second language, and it's also a struggle. And all of this along with training. It's a bit too much. And by too much, I mean, come on, you don't know where you're going, you don't have a car, you don't know the system, and you don't know how things function. Like, as I've told previously before, the portfolios, the online, forms, MSFs, MTRs, so much is there in terms of this training pathway, which you don't know. Right? And when you come as a trust grade doctor, you are given a grace period, there's a shadowing period, something of the sorts, which is so much better than the induction they do in training. Because let me tell you, it was induction day yesterday. The whole day was just online videos about how the hospital works and how the systems work and how to apply for study leave and annual leave and blah, 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 all of that just online. Nobody taught me anything. Nobody walked me around and said, oh, you know what, this is the ABCD of how to do things. Because they imagine that you already know. And if you are coming directly into a training post, by the way, a lot of people ask this question, which training post you can get directly into to save time. I'm just saying it's GP and psych you can get into directly by the MSRA because there is no interview. Any other specialty, this includes IMT by the way, you can't get directly in from your own country. You can try, but it's not going to happen. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to do that, that's not happening. But yeah, some people do start GP training without doing a trust grade job, and it's extremely difficult for them. They either get demoted to F2s, they either get kicked out of the training programs, or they succeed. It's not just black and white. There are people who will succeed. But again, it's too difficult. Why give yourself that much stress when you can get a trust grade job, right? You can work 2-3 months or 6 months depending on your financial stability, your mental power, your physical strength, your emotional capability, all of that comes into play. And once you think, yes, I'm now settled in this country, I can get into a training program, that's when you apply for training. And why is that so hard to understand? I don't know. I think for my country, the mentality is that, you know what, I'm losing my years, I have to do this, I have to do this, and there's this pressure that everybody else is progressing, so I have to progress too. And this is essentially why I made this video, because in the UK, no one cares about what age you are, at what level you are while you're progressing, because they don't care. It's not like USA where you have to be working 72 hours, it's cutthroat and everybody is a competition, all that stuff. UK is quite friendly in terms of time with your family, holidays, having a human setup in your life. And because of all of those reasons, the working hours are less in UK, and the training time is prolonged because of that. And again, things are slightly chilled. No one's going to be like, why didn't you get into training immediately when you came into the country? Or why didn't you just directly get into training while you were moving to another country? Why did you do a trust grade job? Or blah, blah, blah. No one's going to ask you that. Your parents might if they're doctors, but nobody else. Another thing I want to mention here in this video, especially because so many people have been asking this, your timeline depends on you. It doesn't depend on how other people have done it or how other people have achieved things. You might hear people who've come to a country within 3 months, they get into training, and because they had that trust grade period of 3 months, they're pretty okay with what they've seen so far. And minimum, I would say, yes, you need 3 months to kind of adjust yourself to the system. But then you can also get your CREST form signed, which again requires the minimum of 3 months. So a lot can be done within 3 months, and you can get into a training program after 3 months if you are in that year, because in the UK you can only apply for training in most specialties in November, December time. The interview happens in March and the training starts in August. So yeah, I mean, I hope the video makes sense. I would say yes, you should get a trust grade job before you get into a training post. The time period for a trust grade job is not something that I think is significant. Even if you do a month, you may be confident enough to be like, yeah, I can do this. Because when you apply for training, it's not likely that you're going to get into your trust. I was lucky enough to score high enough to get into the deanery that I wanted, where I had done my trust grade posts, and so I was very comfortable in this deanery. But that does not always happen to everyone. People start in bigger cities and go to smaller cities. What do you need for that? Car, which you will have at that point. And then you will know how to rent, you will know how to pay your bills, you will have a bank account. Like, so many things are involved because you're a fully functioning adult, right? I don't think that this should be stopping you from thinking about the UK journey or making you feel sad that, oh, I'll have to give a year. Sometimes you will have to give 2 or 3 years before they get into a training post, and it all depends on your life choices or how you are as a person, or simply because you like the trust grade job, because trust grade jobs are excellent. You can stay where you are for as long as you want. The pay is good, there's no rotation, you don't have to change your accommodation all the time, and there is very little push for you to do things. So if you don't want to do anything, you can just be an SHO as a trust grade and be happy for the rest of your life. So, I mean, essentially, please come out of this ladder mindset where you've gone up the ladder but you still see other ladders and you're just like, I want to keep going, and keep going and keep going, and that's just going to be your life. Just don't do that. But yeah, I hope this video helps you guys and makes you understand why you should be doing a trust grade job. I'm not saying don't do a direct training post. If GP is what you want to do and that's what you want, go ahead. But it's going to be hard, and why put yourself through so much misery? I hope that you guys like this video. Give the video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.